Guys and girls, I'm back at Into Moto, and today, well, it's a familiar sight for Into Moto. They've got another delivery. The van is open. They've just wheeled a couple of bikes off. So yeah, first preview is all mine. So I've managed to grab one and we're taking it out for a spin. So let's have a look what I'm on today. So this is today's offering. This is the Royal Alloy GP200, 181 cc's. Now, the downside of 181 cc's in the UK means that you can't ride this off a CBT. So if you're 17 years old, it's bigger than a 125. So yeah, different rules come into play. But what I like as a full license holder is to be able to take something out that's got a little bit more get up and go than a 125. The extra power is always a bonus when it comes to scooters. Let's have a look around the usual way. I'll throw some specifications at you as we're going, and yeah, let's see what this one's all about. I really like this bronze colour. Let me know what you think, but I really like it. And you can see this bike is as new. The step through, absolutely gleaming. The paintwork on this bike, to be fair, is absolutely gleaming. Let's have a look all the way around so you can see it from all angles. Yeah, it's lovely from all angles. I've been on a couple of Royal Alloy bikes over the years, and I do believe, as far as styling goes, I just think these capture the classic looking scooter look better than anybody else. I do, and I include Vespas, Lambrettas, all of those in the mix. The current modern versions of those bikes just can't compete on the classic looks of the Royal Alloy. It's a beautiful looking bike. I like it. So brakes on this, we've got a 220mm disc on the front with a 2-piston caliper. Same size brake disc on the back, I believe, with a single pot. But I've mentioned it before, with these bikes, because they don't weigh a lot, the brakes are usually exceptional. But we will try that out when we go out for a little spin very shortly. We'll see what it's like for comfort when we take it for a little spin. Now, being a 200, it has got the extra power that will help if you are to take a pillion on the back, and there's a good sized seat for a pillion. There is nothing for them to grab onto, however, yeah, they might have to give you a cuddle. Rear pegs at the back, nicely hidden away. And you can see currently it's on its center stand, but it also has just a side stand as well, should you want to just pull over quickly. I find that the side stand is always best for that. Center stand, brilliant for storage. Side stand, better for a quick stop. It is a very tidy bike, this. Not a mark on it. Just looks like new. But it is used. I know I repeat myself, I do, but I just want to point something out to you, because the beauty of taking a used bike out is you get to see what it's like after it has been used for a couple of years. If you take a brand new motorcycle out, it's going to ride like a brand new motorcycle. It's come straight out of the factory, it's going to work perfectly. But what do they ride like after a couple of years? Well, that's the bonus of taking a used example out like this. It really is back to basics with this bike. There is no skill or buttons involved in this. If you need access to the fuel tank, seat is just on these little sticky pads here, and that gives you access to your fuel tank. You need a key to open that, so no one's got access to your fuel, so don't worry about that. But it does have an 11 litre fuel tank. Now, normally I crouch down just to show you a bit of engine, but you can't see it because it's nicely hidden behind here. But let me give you the specs for the engine. So it is a 181cc liquid cooled engine. It does run a belt drive, and this power plant delivers, it's just short of 20 horsepower. So it is more than a 125, even the maximum 125. It's got 5 extra horses, so performance wise should be much better on this, but we'll find out when we take it out for a spin shortly. As far as the buttons goes, it's a classic scooter, isn't it? So buttons wise on this, you're going to get the basics. So you've got your indicators, your horn, you've got your high and low beam, and your pass, your flash at the front. Right hand side you've got your engine start, and there is hazard warning lights as well. Screen wise on this is where it looks a little bit modern. I know all of the classic scooter guys, they don't like a modern screen, and I'm kind of with them. If the bike looks like it's got some age and date to it, it should have the old school dials because it just fits in. Now this has got a small LCD screen. There's a lot of information on here. You can see nice prominent speedo, there's an engine temperature, there's your total miles, there is a fuel gauge, and then you've got your rev counter going across the top. You can see with this bike it's done 7,500 miles. So as far as a used example goes, yeah, it is a nicely ran in bike, but it's a credit to its previous owner because the condition of it is absolutely stunning. It just goes to show you again, if you look after a bike, it will keep going and it will last. Nice step through, so I like that because when you sat on it, you've got loads of different positions to put your feet. You can move them inside, outside, wherever you need to, but you're not restricted to just some little pegs. That's another bonus of a scooter. Also, it does come with the bag hook. So bag hook means you can have a little shopping bag between your legs. You don't have to put a backpack on, which I like that. That's a bonus. The downside, I'm going to just lift this up again, is there is no under seat storage. That seems to be a common theme with these classic looking scooters as opposed to the modern looking ones. Give you an example, there's a Honda over there, but you know what I mean. They tend to come with under seat storage. The classic ones do not. They do have, however, a little bit of storage here, so let's have a look. So a decent bit of storage in there. You've got, I don't know, maybe somewhere to put some loose change. You have got a USB charging point there, which is brilliant, and there's a little groove cut out there, which I think would be a brilliant place for you to stick your phone to stop it from rattling around when you're charging it on the USB. So I like that. And then the rest, you've got enough room there, maybe for a bottle of water, something like that. Maybe put your gloves in there. There's not a great deal of room, but it's just going to get rid of a couple of things that you'd ordinarily be carrying around or you'd have in your pockets or whatever. So yeah, it's a nice addition. And security wise, there's a lock on it, which is good. So how much does this bike cost? Well, it's currently up for sale for £2,299. So I don't think that's a bad price. However, as I always say, before I can say definitely it's a used bike bargain and yeah, I would recommend it, I need to see what it rides like. I need to have a go. I need to throw my leg over. I need to go and test what it's like out there on the roads. So join me. I'll grab my helmet. My hair's a bit fluffy today. Yeah, probably better with a helmet on. Face for radio, this guy. Yeah, let's go for a ride, see what it's like. Too giddy today. So this has got a 770mm seat height. Now, if I'm sat at the end of the seat like I am now, I'm flat foot, both sides. If you can see my tatty boots down there. Yes, flat foot both sides, so no issues for this short guy. There is no gears to speak of. It is an automatic. It is just a twist and go. So you can't just sit there revving it. As soon as you twist that, you're going to start moving. just doing the slow speed on here, it is a little bit bumpy. I'm not gonna lie to you, it does feel a little bit harder in the seat. Quite a stiff suspension. It does feel quite solid, to be fair. You do feel the bumps when you're going over the cobbles. The slightest twist on the throttle and you are doing 40 miles an hour. So this is considerably quicker than the smaller bike. So I can't really compare it to those smaller engine motorcycles. And it's shocking really, because ultimately all this bike has got is about 55 cc's more than a 125, but it does feel quite a bit more when you're riding. When you're on the road, feels really nice. I didn't expect that, and that is purely because of when we took it on the cobbles. First of all, it seemed to be quite a stiff suspension and it was quite bouncy, but when you're on the road riding it, it's smooth as you like. I mean, avoid the potholes, but you do that anyway, or I'd do that anyway. Regardless of how good the suspension is, you want to try and avoid them because they'll damage your bike and your car. UK roads for you. Anyway, back to the bike. So yes, I think having the extra cc's on this bike makes it a more usable bike, certainly for the faster roads, albeit I'm only on a slower road at the minute. But I think that the extra cc's makes it more usable. Now, the only issue I think the UK has in general with these types of bikes is that if you are a learner and you're 17, then 125 cc's is the maximum you can get. So that means that this bike is not suitable for you as a learner. Okay. And then if you pass your test on a 125cc, most people will go, oh, I need to go out and buy a big old lump of an engine now. So they go from 125cc's to 600 maybe, or bigger in some cases. I did it myself. I passed my test and went straight for a 600. And is it a wise move? Well, I don't know. I think for me it kind of worked. I was quite young at the time, and yeah, I loved the 600, and yeah, I was more than happy with it. But I know a lot of people do feel a bit overwhelmed when they go from 125 to a bigger bike, so maybe it's not great to jump straight up to a bigger bike. I know I've spoke to a couple of people online recently, and they've been saying how they've gone from a 125 to a 350 and they've enjoyed the increase in power without being kind of overwhelmed with the extra weight and power, and that is probably a really sensible thing to do. However, I know everybody's got different views on this and I'm going off on a tangent, but let's just get back to this bike. I have a theory on who this bike would be perfect for, and it's going to fit a couple of different people for me. Now, first of all, you've got the person who's passed the test that loves the 125 and they've got no intention of changing the 125 because they just love the 125 and they just passed the test so they don't have to do a CBT every 2 years. So for those people who want to just change up the 125, it's not a massive difference. It's not. Size wise, it's the same size, it's pretty much the same look. It's just this has got a little bit more power. It's not massively different as far as power goes, but it's got a little bit more power, and that's the thing. It's going to leave any 125cc bike for dust. It is, but it's not a 300. It's not going to keep up with a 300, so it kind of sits in that it's better and much better performing than a 125, but it's still small enough that it's not going to be too overwhelming for you. So yes, for those people who want to keep the cheaper motorcycle, like the more fuel efficient motorcycle, it fits you, but you need to have passed your test to do it. So you've got those people. Now then you've also got people like myself, people who have got a big motorcycle, who just fancy a smaller bike, a little rev and go to nip to the shops on, or like a little runabout bike. Now for those people, these are perfect. You know, people like myself, I've passed my test, I quite fancy a scooter, and I think, well, I could get a 125cc motorcycle, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I love the 125cc bikes. I spend a lot of my time on them, I love them. But I could get something with a little bit more power, but still keep that good fuel economy and cheaper insurance by having the smaller engine. So for people like me who want a scooter as a second bike, yeah, I do like the idea of one of these. I've got my big bike in the garage, but I want something to nip, you know, a mile down the road on. I don't want to get my big bike out, and I just fancy a little scooter, or I fancy a little scooter for work or whatever, and I'm looking for a 125cc motorcycle, and I walk into Moto and I see all of the 125cc bikes that they've got, and then I see this that is pretty much priced the same as them or in the middle of them. I'd be thinking, oh, for the same money I can get something just a little bit better than a 125. So then I'd be tempted, thinking I'd probably go for this. This would be ideal for me. And then you've also got the rider that for whatever reason wants to downsize, because I don't know, it could be age, injury, whatever, but you're looking for a lighter bike, but you want to remain on two wheels, and you don't want to go for something as small as a 125 because you still want to have a little bit of power. Well, again, you've got an option of getting something like this. There's so many people excluded that won't be allowed to ride it, and that is because of the restrictions of the UK bike licenses. So, you know, 17-year-old, you can go on a 125. This is banned for you, it's too big. It's a real shame, because it is better than a 125. It is. It's got more performance. It's, I think, more practical than the 125 version, and it's more practical just purely because the 125 version is good and it will get you up to 60 mile an hour at a push. But the thing is with these is, because you've got that extra horsepower, it's something like 8 horsepower extra. That's a lot of horses. Now that means when you do get to the dual carriageways, when you get to the faster roads, you can get to 60, 70 mile an hour even, but you can do it quicker, you're not holding up traffic. I just really do love the looks and styling of it, and taking it out for that little ride today, this is what was missing from the 125 version of this bike for me. The 125 version just didn't have the same performance and the same guts as this, and that's why I ultimately, when I did my comparison with the Lambretta, picked the Lambretta. And this is a completely different animal. This would wipe the floor with the Lambretta because of the performance. So it's everything that was missing from the 125 version is in this. It's just you need to have the right license to ride it. So yeah, if you fit the criteria, I 100% recommend this bike for you. I just think it is a lovely bike to ride, lovely looking thing, and for £2,299, yeah, it's as cheap as the 125s that are in there. In fact, there's 125cc scooters in there that are much more expensive than this bike, and this bike would wipe the floor with them. Sad but true. Anyway, that's going to do me. I am going to enjoy the sun. I think I'm going to have to take my own bike out today, go for a little bit of a blast, make the most of the good weather. So I will catch you guys on the next one. As always, link in the description. Laters.